a while since I've done a live stream. In fact, it's been almost 3 years, but I just wanted to pop on, say hi, check in with everybody. And also I was prompted to do this because yesterday I had a message slide into my DMs that kind of got my blood boiling. This message was from a landlord for a property that I toured about a year ago. And I'm not exaggerating when I say this property was absolutely terrible, and it may actually be the most dismal property on the market. Let's talk about it. I'm going to talk about this specific property, but also I want to open the discussion as well and just talk about some red flags to look out for when you are renting. I've lived in my car, I've rented a lot of places, and I hate renting, but I also know some things to look out for. Hi Ace Man, thank you for joining. So I'll first share, this is the description. It already looks a little dismal. 600 square feet is quite small. It was originally listed for $2,000 a month, which is really high. I don't even know why I toured this because that's way more than I want to spend. And initially I was thinking, okay, maybe a tiny house could be an interesting lifestyle because I had been doing car life and I wasn't that keen on just going back to a regular place, so it kind of caught my eye for that reason, and maybe I kind of overlooked the price. But if you think about it, it's like, it doesn't make any sense to live in a tiny house for the same, if not more, than renting a regular house. $2,000 a month is just crazy, and the only reason that it's practical to have a tiny house is if it's cheap. Maybe 700, 800, 1,000 max. Otherwise, it's totally impractical. But the first red flag that you really see here, and I'm blocking it, but just the way they word it is kind of crazy. It says 2-story architecturally renovated carriage house. So I guess what I thought at first, and what one might think, is like, oh, architecturally renovated, that sounds kind of cool. It's probably a unique design, something interesting, maybe something somewhat valuable. But when you look at the pictures, and then after you actually see the house too, you can really tell quickly that architecturally renovated has no meaning. I mean, when you think about it, every house, every dwelling is architecture to a certain extent. So what on earth does architecturally renovated mean? And you'll see in a second just how poorly designed it actually is. So this first picture actually doesn't look so bad. Part of the reason I toured it, it looks pretty spacious. There was some appeal to having a standalone place where I wouldn't have to hear the neighbors through the walls, because a lot of buildings are paper thin, so that's something to look out to as well. So outside, okay, something to consider. Maybe I could talk them down on the price. But frankly, from the outside, you can see a little bit some flaws if you look carefully. For one, if you look at those windows on the ceiling, you can kind of tell that they look a little shoddy, and it's like, what's going on here? So then you walk inside, and the first floor, oh, it's also advertised 2 stories, as if that means a lot, but really it doesn't. So you walk in here, you can tell from this picture it's pretty dingy, frankly. The owners have all their stuff cluttered on those bookshelves. It's dark. The advertisement said like, oh, flexible space, studio, office, whatever, but the reality being in there, you could tell it's pretty dingy and really lacks the function that would give any value to that at all. So I'm thinking, okay, no thanks, but let's go upstairs and see if there's something more about this that gives it some value. And then also off of this room, there was this bathroom, and they also advertised that as like, oh, hand-laid tiles in the shower, but frankly, they don't look so good. They claim that they're artists, but there's nothing special about that tile. And if I'm showering, I'm not looking for good tiles. I'm looking for a nice shower and to clean myself. So that was played up as a selling point, and really, there's nothing there. Here's the toilet. I'll let that speak for itself. Next, hi Goofy J, yeah, this is actually live. I'm doing my first live stream in 3 years on the phone, so trying to figure out how to do stuff. Yeah, so anyway, then there's these stairs. When you think about that too, this looks kind of weird, like the colors kind of look clownish, not that great. And then the real problem occurs when you go upstairs to like the main living space, which is supposed to be the architectural whatever, and it was just a mess, total disaster. Here it is, complete crap. I mean, nothing about it makes sense. For an architect, it's insane. I mean, look at this. Okay, I guess it's a little hard to see from the picture, but basically you can tell that there's a bed. It's not even flush against the wall. It's kind of floating in the middle, and that was nailed down to the floor, so you can't even move that yourself. The kitchen is at the foot of a bed, which that's always a problem with a studio apartment, is having the kitchen right there where you're trying to sleep. But they claim it's architecturally renovated, and yet here's this stove floating completely in the middle of the floor, no vent or anything. So if you tried to cook, if you tried to cook, it's like there's nowhere for the smoke to go, and then nowhere for you to go either, because this is all just one living space. The colors on the walls are still strange, and like if you see that mask in the back too, there were just some odd decorations. That might be some kind of cultural thing, but it wasn't really my vibe. There it is again, that mask. And then finally there's a tiny little bathroom in the very back that has basically no function. So that was it. I was kind of surprised they had the audacity to reach out and say I was still interested. I was surprised last year, actually, that they were able to rent it. Granted, there were a few price cuts and things, but I feel bad for whoever got suckered into it because it was really expensive and the value just wasn't there. And it actually does get worse though. So, okay, it was a terrible value and really talked up in this advertisement, but then the worst thing of all was that if you read the description further, here it says, we agree to no drug use except if you get sick, no smoking on the premises, infrequent use of alcohol, friends and occasional guests are welcome, but frequent guests and partying lifestyle simply won't work here. So I'm not a big drinker. I don't really do drugs, although pot is legal. It's not my thing, but I just can't believe that they would say, like, limit your alcohol, drugs, and then you can't even have guests over. I mean, I just find it insulting, frankly, that they would be charging $2,000 a month and you can't even have guests, can't even drink or do as you please in your own home. So, and hi Armin, hi Stuart, thanks for joining this. That's about all I have. It was kind of bewildering to hear from this landlord, and it seems like they're a little bit desperate that they had to reach out to me to see if I was still interested a year later. Really terrible place. And yeah, just has me thinking too about a lot of red flags to look out for when you're renting an apartment. It feels like these places really try to play up the smallest details as selling points. For example, I had a friend who just rented a place and he sent me the listing. Hopefully it's a fine place, but one of the selling points for that was like carpeted hallways. And it's like, okay, that's not a feature. Carpet these days is actually considered a little bit less desirable, but either way, no one cares how the floors are in the hallways of the building. So you really do have to watch out and be careful of what is advertised and whether or not you can trust it. If you have specific concerns about a place, you should definitely ask for specifics. Anytime you ask a vague question or ask something like, is there a noise problem here, or something like that, no one's ever going to give you a straight answer because they're just looking to sell and make the most money they can. So that's all I have. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.